to villages to see dancing. He never, ever brought dancers to dance for tourists in front of guests. The great positive, of course, of rural tourism is that it can keep people in their villages. Himanshu and Manisha of Village Ways have succeeded really successfully with this, and Yatendra Mangain of Bakri Chap has said that he's had the same sort of success. So anyway, I came to India speaking some Hindi, which is something that's also totally changed my experience and my confidence in being here. And my Hindi is appalling, but it's given me access to women in particular, and it's made me see how when things get translated, things get left out. So with this in hand, when John very sadly passed away, it was really tragic, but he did live on a diet of mawa and cigarettes, so it was kind of... occasionally he had whiskey, but mostly it was mawa. I was asked to take on his company, and through various twists and turns, I've ended up here today, for which I'm extremely grateful. Ayushi, who's here, said to me something the other day, which said that tourism has to work hand in hand with social change, and I think that's the key. I don't think we should be allowed to sell holidays, particularly me, a foreigner, unless we genuinely believe that we're doing no harm and possibly some good. And it's not good enough to say that tourism brings in money, because we don't know where that money goes. Mostly it goes to men, not women. And if money pulls children out of school, then it's poison, it's not food. I'm not qualified to make social change in India. And so I've worked very closely with Samat Charitable Trust. Deepak is here today, who's helped me get something going, which I'm really proud of. We started doing walks for water. So through a charity in the UK called Frank Water, we took guests walking from one village to another with expert guides, i.e. the people who lived in the villages, explaining to us through Deepak and other members of Samat how their work affected them. I don't want to say affected even, because they were all involved in the work themselves. Largely, we were looking at access to sustainable access to safe water. The consequence of this, and I think it's a bit of a side consequence, but it is a big one, is that the guests made huge engagement with the villages, and continued being donors to Frank Water Charity UK long after they'd left. And I did a just little back of a matchbox tot up the other day. I think we've raised 20 lakhs. I think guests have given 20 lakhs just over the last 3 or 4 years, which is, and I'm a very small company. That's not a large number of guests. That's guests making a connection and wanting to help. But we don't want it to be charity, and we're working closely with Deepak so that we can take people into villages. And I slightly question what you said, Mr. Khan. I totally agree with you, but I think the word should be ask, not tell, when we're talking about setting up homestays and getting their expertise rather than necessarily teaching, because they're the experts about their lives, and it's us who've messed up their lives as well. So I think I've talked enough for now.
Can I please?
Yes. Rightly, Mr. Rupesh Murthy said that when the pandemic had happened, and Kerala, we know very well that I'm working with Kerala for the last 25 years, very proactive state, no doubt about that. And today, that's the reason it's called as God's own country, because it has not only that backwaters are there, or your greenery is there, or maybe something is there, but definitely. I would like to state here, very, very important I reminded in my mind that when pandemic came, it was the last week of March when the whole country was locked down, rather globally if you say. That time, being the president of the Eritrea and also the board member of all the associations, 10 associations, mainly 10 associations, people are asking us, what is the way forward now? How till the pandemic will be there? And what we have to do? Now the tourism will be finished. Rightly you said, the people were afraid. They were scary. They wanted to leave that trade, actually. And they were closing down their offices and everything. That time, I'm thankful to the Madhya Pradesh government. Then I talked to the Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board. I said, let us start something on video conferencing or by Zoom. March, it was end. April, May, we could not do any. June first week, that was the first Zoom meeting we started with the Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board, and they had shown us all the villages here, the rural areas, the jungles. Almost 33% of the forest area is in Madhya Pradesh, I think, if I am not wrong. And people can tell me about that. It is covered by that. So we have gone through all the Zoom meetings, and we were so busy with that, the Zoom meetings. All the states, they were calling us that we want to have our presentation by Zoom meetings and everything. So we had educated the people in those, the bad time when there was no business, the offices were closed. And we started, and we had gone to the Ministry of Tourism. I still remember, I had contacted the minister at that time, the tourism minister. I contacted him. I said, we want to do something about that. This is the right time when you can show India as a potential destination. Then he agreed, and we started with the Ministry of Tourism, Dekho Apna Desh. That was the episode we had started with the Ministry of Tourism. It reminded me from your words. So Dekho Apna Desh, I think it was very, very successful, where all these, the state boards, they have taken initiative to show their different rural areas, the corners of the rural areas, corners. And it was a wonderful, subject, Dekho Apna Desh, and all the people were very busy. All the people came to know the potential of India, exactly. That exactly I want to say that Dekho Apna Desh, which was started here, it really gave the education to the masses, not only to the tour operators, to the masses, that what potential has and where actually we have to promote that. And we discuss about that, the rural areas, and how to educate them, how to make them exactly a responsible person, locally people also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your great comments. Storytelling activities and your role in responsible tourism, promotion of responsible tourism as a responsible traveler.
Right. Thank you very much. So I've been traveling in India since 2005, and my background is in journalism. And because of India, because I was inspired by India, I became a travel writer and a travel blogger. And India literally, I call my muse, because India literally was the place that inspired me to change my career and become a travel writer, because I wanted to capture the beauty of this place. And I always tried to use, right from the very beginning of my career in 2005, I always had this concept of cultural respect in my mind. I'm not even sure where it came from or where I learned it. Just somehow I got this concept of cultural respect as being a very, very important, you could say, compass for me, or filter. Like, it was something that I always kept in my mind as I was traveling, as a traveler, to have cultural respect, and as a writer, to have cultural respect. It's not my job, Sophie had mentioned, as a foreigner coming here, it's not my job to judge India or change India or save India, or I feel it's my job to experience India and to try and express my experience and what it's like to travel here and how wonderful it is, the people, the culture, all of these things. But, when I started traveling in 2005 and blogging, there was only 3 travel bloggers in India, and 2 of them are at this conference, Lakshmi and myself. This is long before social media. Social media came up later, so we were only blogging, we were just doing on websites. And then, as you all know, social media came up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these things came up. And it seems like over the past few years, everybody is now a travel blogger. Everybody. When you travel, you put a picture on Instagram, you're a travel blogger. But not everybody has this background of journalism training that Lakshmi and I have. Not everybody has good concepts of ethics and the impact of what they're going to do. Not everybody has this in their mind. So they just put up whatever they want, whatever they think is going to get the most likes, with very little thought to the impact. And I wanted to mention one thing, actually. On his slide, I just had the picture, I took a picture of it. On his slide, Dr. Goodwin was talking about how who's responsible, taking responsibility, who is responsible for responsible tourism? And he wrote everyone. And then he made a list: tour operator, inbound operator, hotelier, government, community. He made a whole list. He never mentioned storytellers, he never mentioned marketers, he never mentioned Instagrammers. He didn't mention the importance of marketing. He didn't mention storytelling and the impact. But the truth is, I believe, and I think studies have shown, Instagram has actually had an incredible effect on tourism, good and bad. It's helped market destinations for sure, but it's also contributed greatly to over-tourism. People do stunts on Instagram, and unfortunately it has led to people imitating those stunts and falling to their death. It's created this culture where it's created an online milieu where local cultures and local destinations have been reduced to a backdrop for your fancy picture. So there's many positives and many negatives for social media, especially. Blogging less. Bloggers tend to be a little more thoughtful and go into more depth. But certainly social media can be a force. It's a little bit like he said about the fire. It can cook your food, or it can burn down your house. So one thing that I'm trying to do, I'm working with Shivya Nath, who many of you know, the shooting star. She's a well-known blogger in India and a good friend of mine. We're putting together a workshop called Impact Storytelling. And our plan is to come up with guidelines. And it's somewhat like the guidelines behind UN sustainability guidelines or responsible tourism guidelines. We would like to come up with some simple, well-known, like easily accessible guidelines for people who are creating stories. Whether it's a company creating a story, an organization, a tourism board, we can do a version for content creators, we can do a version for industry. But this is one thing that is on my mind, on just trying to raise awareness to people who are putting stories out there about travel and the impact it has, and getting people to think more about this. So this is just the one thing I wanted to offer, raise more awareness on this issue.
Thank you, madam. Adding to your points, of course, we need to develop some protocols for destinations to ensure responsible tourism or sustainable tourism or whatever it is. For example, if we cannot control the massive tourism or mass tourism activities in small villages, it will completely destroy the potential and the attractions of that village. So I can share an experience from Kerala. Recently, we declared responsible tourism classification for hotels and resorts as part of our initiative. I think that is the first one in India by the government sector. Similarly, we are trying to develop the recently completed responsible tourism protocol for mountain landscapes. That is trying to cover all the construction models, architects, environment protection activities, involvement of local community and local self-governments. Local self-governments in Kerala, not only in Kerala, in India, they have their own role in tourism. They can manage the community. They can ensure the involvement of the community in tourism. So we are trying to develop responsible tourism protocols for destinations. And of course, we will declare the responsible tourism protocol for backward. So we have another official from Uttarakhand Tourism. Madam Poonam Chand is with us. She is currently holding the position of Additional Director in the Tourism Department of Government of Uttarakhand. He has traveled widely and got rich experience of 28 years in managing operation concerning travel and tourism, particularly sustainable tourism in the Great Himalayan region. Madam, happy welcome to you in this panel for your suggestions and advices for and your thoughts. So, Madam, I have a question. Could you please explain about the role of rural homestays in responsible tourism in the new normal situation?
Thank you, Rupeshi. Esteemed moderator for this session, and all the guests who are, I hope they are not sleeping, because after having lunch then it's very, and my colleagues and other panelists for today's session. Good afternoon, and I would like to just start this thing that I'll have to inform something about tourism and Uttarakhand. It's 27th state of India, and for the responsible tourism, from Mr. Rupesh Kumar, we learned, but I was lucky to attend one meeting in 2017 in Kerala. And I'll just inform you, immediately coming after that international seminar on responsible tourism, we created this homestay policy. So after that, in 2018, it was because it has to go to cabinet, and then finally, we launched this policy homestay. And I'm happy to inform you right now, we have more than 4,250 homestays all over Uttarakhand. There are many NGOs, many associations, they all are working for this. And this is basically in rural areas of Uttarakhand. At least 50% is in rural area, but not all. But we give good subsidy also the government gives good subsidy for creating homestays and all. And we have increased it to 15 lakh now as a subsidy, and 50% is a subsidy. So and then as a responsible tourism initiatives, now what we are developing is trekking traction centers. That is again a homestay, and as you know, this is the Himalayan region. We have lot of trekking routes and this thing in Uttarakhand. So we have developed those trekking traction centers. This will be a community-run center, and all the trekkers who will be traveling to for different treks or mountaineering expeditions and all, this will be a base camp, and they will get all the facilities like souvenir shop and their equipments and other these things. So this is one way to sustain this thing. When we talk about Uttarakhand, it comes the Devbhumi, and we have the gods like Badrinath ji, Kedarnath ji. We have Char Dham, we say, in Uttarakhand. So the Char Dham is not in all over India, we have other 4 dhams, but in Uttarakhand, we say Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, and Jamnotri. So we have those 4 dhams. So what initiative we are taking, because it's a new normal, the subject is new normal in India now after COVID. So COVID time, we had very difficult time, as you all know. We all were closed, and we had some, from 80 countries, we have some 5,000 tourists who were stranded there in Uttarakhand. They were in Uttarakhand for their travel, and suddenly it was declared, and they were all stranded there. So we tried to help them out, and basically for different this thing. So we got this award also for sustaining their economy and this thing, and we got this award from ICRT. And now for the Char Dham Yatra, I would just like to tell you, how many tourists we receive generally. So we received in 2014 2 crore 26 lakh tourists, now which is increased to 3.93 in 2019 crore tourists we receive in Uttarakhand. So this is the number of tourists we are getting. And basically the Uttarakhand tourism, the religious tourism, is the most common and major tourism driver and the potential driver for tourism. And in 2019, we have received, after this new normal, I'd just like to tell you the scenario, what is in Uttarakhand. In 2019, we have received 32 lakh tourists, 32.40 lakh tourists already in 4 dhams of Uttarakhand. That is only 2 districts, Rudraprayag and Uttarkashi. So we have we have Kedarnath Shrine, Badrinath Shrine, Gangotri, the river source of Ganga, and Yamuna. So we have received so many tourists. In 2022, we have received 33 lakhs already. In 2019, 32 lakh tourists we received for 4 dhams. And here it's not even, the air is not even complete. It's like, revenge tourism. We are receiving so many tourists, and now we felt more responsible for, how to get this thing. So I'll just request to play 3 minutes video on Char Dham, what we are, planning to sustain this thing. Just a 3 minutes video, what, alternate, because we are receiving so many. By November, we'll be receiving, again, we have 39 lakh tourists, who have already registered with us to go for this. So it is, increasing like anything. So this is...
मिल जाता है जब कोई उत्तराखंड की पावन देव भूमि पर आता। उत्तर का उत्कृष्ट और अभिन्न अंग, जहां आकाश भी विकट हिमालय को देख नतमस्तक हो जाता है, जहां कंकड़ कंकड़ में शंकर बसते हैं। हिमप्रस्थ की गोद में बहती नदियां यहाँ सखियों की भांति मिलती हैं और संयुक्त होकर जीवनदायिनी गंगा के रूप में आस और आस्था का प्रतीक है उत्तराखंड, क्योंकि यहाँ प्रतिष्ठापित हैं धर्म के 4 धाम।
दिल्ली से आया हूँ। आई एम फ्रॉम चंडीगढ़।
मैं मुंबई से हूँ।
मैं नासिक से हूँ। केरला। जगन्नाथ धाम से आया।
गोरखपुर से हूँ।
मैं राजस्थान से आया।
ओह नमः शिवाय। हर हर महादेव।
धर्म और निर्माण में विलीन ये 4 धाम एक पौराणिक मार्ग से संबंध है। युगों युगों से श्रद्धालु इस विमल यात्रा का सुख प्राप्त करते रहे हैं। यमुनोत्री धाम जो सिखाता है जीवन का अर्थ, गंगोत्री धाम जहां से बहती है बोध और ज्ञान की धारा, बाबा केदारनाथ यानी तप और वैराग्य, अंत में बाबा बद्रीनाथ जो हैं मनुष्य के लिए मोक्ष का धाम। प्राचीन काल में यह 4 धाम यात्रा संपूर्ण रूप से पद यात्रा हुआ करती थी।
हर सुबह शाम हम लोग पीछे छोड़ते चले जा रहे हैं, चट्टी के बाद चट्टी तय किए जा रहे हैं, मील के बाद मील।
आज यह पौराणिक मार्ग वीरान और लुप्त होता जा रहा है और इसी पवित्र पथ की खोज और इसके संरक्षण के लिए उत्तराखंड टूरिज्म डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड और ट्रैक द हिमालयास की ओर से एक टीम संयुक्त की गई। प्रारंभ हुआ 4 धाम ट्रेल प्रोजेक्ट।
फर्स्ट धाम यमुनोत्री,
हाँ।
अब गंगोत्री। पैदल।
इस मार्ग को खोजने, समझने और इस पर यात्रा करने के लिए 4 धाम ट्रेल प्रोजेक्ट की टीम ने कूच किया। दुर्गम और कठिन रास्ते, वीरान पहाड़ी जंगलों में इस ट्रैकिंग दल ने 50 दिनों में 1140 किलोमीटर की दूरी तय की। इन रास्तों की कहानी और इनके किरदारों को समीप से जाना गया। कहते हैं एक समय इन रास्तों पर लघु भारत के दर्शन होते थे, क्योंकि प्रांत प्रांत से श्रद्धालु इस 4 धाम पद यात्रा पर आते थे।
किसी चट्टी पर आटा दाल खरीद कर खाते पकाते और किसी चट्टी पर पहुंचकर बिना खाए पिए अधमरे की तरह आंखें मुन कर पड़ रहे थे।
श्रीमान जी, मेरा नाम जमुना प्रसाद बुनियाल है और मैं यहाँ का चट्टी चौधरी हूँ।
यही प्राचीन धर्म की प्राचीन परंपरा हुआ करती एवं इस यात्रा के अधिकांश रास्ते लुप्त हो चुके हैं।
वो कोई व्यक्ति हो, वो किसी भी धर्म से जुड़ा हो, लेकिन अंत में वो जो है ईश्वर को याद जरूर करेगा, अपने धर्म को याद जरूर करेगा।
इस पौराणिक पथ के मायने को समझने और इसे संरक्षित रखने के लिए ही उत्तराखंड टूरिज्म डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड और ट्रैक द हिमालयास ने 4 धाम ट्रेल प्रोजेक्ट की पहल की। कष्ट और कठिनाइयों के बावजूद लुप्त होते जा रहे इस पथ को खोजा गया।
बहुत ऊपर चढ़ना पड़ेगा, कम से कम 200 मीटर ऊपर चढ़ना पड़ेगा आपको। अब देखते हैं एक बार जाके। फ्लाइट के सामने मैं खड़ा हूँ, आगे वाला फ्लाइट इस पे और ऊपर है।
ये पौराणिक पथ उत्तराखंड ही नहीं संपूर्ण भारतवर्ष के लिए महत्व रखता है। शायद ही हम परिचित हों कि इस पौराणिक पथ पर चलकर ही धर्म, अर्थ, कर्म और मोक्ष का भव्यतम भाव अनुभव होता है।
People can rest. It's like a hotel or a civilization. Sarai sort of a thing. So what I was explaining, because through the film I can show, how difficult it is. So we'll be developing now homestay along the route. And for Char Dham, the earlier people, used to go all walking through those trails. So we have discovered. And for the tourists, they can go 1 day, 2 days. It's not necessary for everyone to travel 50 days or 60 days, but for the youths, it will be a different experience. So we are planning to develop now. We have just come up with the videos and this thing. And secondly, we are working for the cleanliness because we have developed so many homestays. Now it's not a township or something. Just giving all your kachara to that person. Now we have to be very responsible in Uttarakhand because there are so many homestays. It's not a hotel and that place is not geared up for getting that. So we are really doing this good work, trying to sustain all the, we have already done one seminar with the latest technologies, how we can use our waste, reuse our waste, and how to manage waste. So we are giving these lessons. We are giving training to different youths, guide training programs for 10,000 people. It's already planned. And employment generation, definitely we have given employment to 12,000 people through those homestays. And homestay trainings are already on in different villages. And this was from MP Tourism, we have really learned so much. Kerala Tourism and MP Tourism, they both are definitely pioneer. Now we are also planning to do much work in the field of responsible and sustainable tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. The term revenge tourism is used a lot in the new normal tourism situation. Actually, I think it can create negative. The term revenge, at the same time, it will create mass tourism in destination. So we must consider about the sustainability of the destination in such a situation. So I think this is an amazing initiative by Uttarakhand Tourism to address the mass tourism created due to revenge. Revenge. I don't know. We can use the term revenge in special quotation because I don't.
Revenge was for, because people were kept inside. They were inside, so they just want to go out now.
Yeah, yes.
So we are having so many tourists, and we have, all the proximity to Delhi is the one reason. In 4 hours, one can reach because the Haridwar is just 210 kilometers from Delhi. So connectivity is very good, and for the weekends, we receive, so many tourists from Delhi and NCR and other regions. Inside, in log.
No, that was not a question to you. The term widely used, revenge tourism, is misinterpreted, I think. Okay, so that was my comment. So I have 2 questions to all of you. You can comment. Have you seen a shift in traveler preference in new normal situation? And how do we in the travel industry ensure our guests behave responsibly? All of you can express your views, please. Have you seen a shift in traveler preference? The first one. And how do we in the travel industry ensure our guests behave responsibly? The major challenges of responsible tourism. Right. I'm trying to address through that questions, please.
So I want to just reiterate, I've already talked about coming up with guidelines for responsible storytelling, but I just segue from this discussion that we're having about Uttarakhand, as Poonam well knows. I lived in Rishikesh for 4 years until 2 weeks ago, and I made it a joke, I'm so sorry to say this, that I needed some peace, so I moved to Delhi. I'm really sorry to say this because I've been going to Rishikesh for 17 years, and as a yoga student, a spiritually oriented person, the beautiful spiritual energy of Rishikesh draws people from around the world. It's called the yoga capital of the world. But because of this revenge tourism, it is now completely packed. The mass tourism is just completely changed the nature of that town. And on the weekend, locals can't even go out. I was trapped in my society. I couldn't even walk out. So I don't know what the answer is. I do know that this is a dilemma because people did need to get out of their houses, that's for sure, and they need a place to go, and I understand that. And also the local people working in tourism, they need a living, they need to make a living. So this was a boon for them. They didn't make any money for such a long time. I understand that. But the negative side is that the beautiful quality of Rishikesh that's been attracting spiritual seekers since the dawn of time is compromised, and that's the truth. I don't know the answer, but I just, wanted to share my experience that if there's any way, madam, to preserve, actually it's an emotional topic for me, to preserve the sacred nature. We all know that Garhwal especially has so many sacred places. If there's any way you can ensure, in spite of the mass tourism, to preserve the sacred nature, I would like to just put that forth as my request, humble request.
That's what I'm saying. The number of tourists they are going, it's mind-boggling now. It's definitely over-tourism we are receiving. That's why we wanted to, now we are planning to, shift. So this is how we are planning to do in a sustainable way, so that we develop the different villages, different roads, people will be. So this is how one point, it's not, necessary.
Or maybe being careful about developing one area as a leisure area, one area is kept as a sacred area, and not mixing them, maybe. This is just an idea.
I'd just like to say something incredibly positive, which is that I've seen a huge shift in traveller preferences. COVID was completely awful. I mean, just devastating and appalling. But what it did give us all was a bit of a pause to think about things. And it gave me and a friend of mine the opportunity to map out some incredible cycling routes around Kanha National Park. And they've been a total sellout. I've got the busiest and I'm small, but I've got the busiest season that I've ever seen ahead. So there's demand for out there there's demand for meaningful tourism. I really believe that. And I also think we all need in the travel profession to be more confident about being incredibly bossy with our guests and telling them that they need to carry a water bottle with them. They need to wear this. They really shouldn't take don't need to think about it. So I think we need to, that's all, just have confidence in telling people how to behave, so that's.
The changes and, the responsibility both go together. And now, after the pandemic, we have seen that the tourists are more likely to go into nature-close activities. They want to go the places where are not crowded and on the outskirts. This is the basic idea. They have changed their mind now. And instead of going to the 5-star hotels and to 4-star hotels, yesterday we were talking, and they are more into homestays now. And that's the best part. And I'm happy that Uttarakhand, like Poonamji also said that they have almost 4,200 something, 800. Now homestays are there. That's the best part. Kerala has homestays. MP has homestays. So all the states are now considering to go into the homestays where you find each and everything as per your taste. Even the food, the habits of the food has been changed. The lifestyle has been changed. The pandemic has really taught us a lot of things in our life, and we should learn from that. Corona, blessing in disguise, the corona has come, and we have learned a lot of things which were irresponsible for all these aspects. And this is the best part, that exactly people are now taking more into not going into the public transportation, like they want to go by bicycle, or maybe their own cars, or maybe their own transport, or like the walking tours are now becoming very, very popular in all the states. All the states are looking for the walking tours. That's the best part. Another thing is that, it's very heartening to know that a lot of states are now serious about, concerned about the catastrophic effect that is actually happening globally on the environment due to recklessness and also the irresponsibility of the mankind in preserving the ecological balance, resulting in what we often see today. The rising sea levels, global warming, and we are seeing that weather patterns tending to unprecedented floods, like we are seeing that we never saw the rains in India in September, October, or November. Now floods have been there. Now you can see the situations in MP, you can see in Bihar. It was not like that, floods. In Uttarakhand, which has happened a lot of times. So these are things which we are responsible for that. And where we have to take care, that the mankind has to take care of all of these responsibilities. If they are responsible, if they really if they are near to the nature, I think we can really change, if we can become a game changer for that. And one or two points also now, I would like to add here that now organizations like SOS and Tough Tigers, they're very, very eco-conscious about that. They don't allow. Today we are seeing, if you are seeing in Uttarakhand, Poonamji, if you are seeing, I was there for, in Corbett and everything. Now Corbett is not for the, seeing the jungle or to see the, tigers or the animals. Rather it has become events destinations. Lot of marriages, lot of birthday parties are happening in the eco-surrounding areas, which is not good for this, the nature. And that's actually very bad part on this ground. And this is the thing which exactly I want to say. And we can only pray God, and we can only say that let us nurture all together. It is very important. We should all nurture all together, the ecosystem, the sustainability, and the responsibility together. Only we can really progress, and we can find that responsible tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam, please respond.
Mahatma, as it has already, the future depends on what we do today. That is what the Mahatma Gandhi ji has said. And Bharat ki आत्मा गाँव में बसती है, और गाँव को हम जितना सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट करेंगे, जितना केवल होम स्टे बनाने से ही खत्म नहीं होता है. होम स्टे is not the answer to everything. We have to create an environment. Everything should be sustainable. ओवर टूरिज्म को घटाने के लिए हमें गाँव में ही जाना होगा. आजकल वर्किंग हॉलीडेज, ये सब लोग लंबी लंबी छुट्टियां लेकर के घर ऑफिस के, अभी वर्क फ्रॉम होम का जो अभी चला है, तो वर्क फ्रॉम होम के लिए लोग होम स्टेज में जाके काफ़ी काम कर रहे हैं, जहाँ पर अच्छी कनेक्टिविटी है. वी आर गेटिंग वेरी गुड रिस्पॉन्स फॉर द होम स्टेज एंड ऑल. So this is, we have to do it sustainably so that the community gets benefit out of it, and it has to be community driven, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now the floor is open for any questions and suggestions and criticism from your side. It is open for you.
I would like to one question that since we are working for the responsible tourism, and under this we are promoting the rural tourism where various activities are being created so that the community can be benefited more through tourism activities. So since you are the president of domestic tour operator associations, and can you suggest what kind of expectations these domestic tourists having, because what we are doing in the rural areas, they cannot compete with the luxuries hotels and then the services that they are providing, because
That's exactly, we are talking about that now. Rural areas has to be developed. And I think you were not there when I said that 69% of the population are in villages here. It is very, very important that now the trend is changing now. The total tourist change, they want to go to the rural areas more rather than to the 5-star deluxe properties. Like homestays, we are talking about that. They want to experience new things. They want to go by the cart. बसों में तो सबने देख लिया, जहाजों में भी सबने देख लिया चढ़ के, लेकिन क्या कभी आपके बच्चे या मेरे बच्चे कभी कार्ट पे, उन्होंने बुल कार्ट पे बैठ के देखा है? We have never seen that. They have never experienced churning the milk cows का और जो बफले का होता है, we have never experienced. हमारे बच्चों को तो पता भी नहीं होगा कि दूध कहाँ से आता है, कैसे पहुँचता है हमारे पास. So these are the things which we have to, tell the tourist. हमने farm tourism पे बहुत काम किया है as a domestic tourism. We are sending a lot of people to the farm tourism and telling them to experience the farm tourism, experience the village tourism, that how the people are staying there. हुक्का पीना देखो एक तरीका है ना. अब तो चलो सारे हुक्का बार्स भी खुल गए, सब कुछ खुल गए. But there was a time when हम villages में जाकर खाट के ऊपर बैठ के वो हुक्का पी रहे होते थे अपने villages सारे, पंचायत में जो होता था. Sorry, I'm talking in Hindi, I think you understand what exactly, we are talking about the villages basically. So these are the things we have to tell the tourist. आप एक बार उनको बताइए, हमने जब farm tourism पर करे, हमने CIA के साथ मैडम हमने किया था, एक बहुत बड़ा सेमिनार किया था on the village tourism and farm tourism, where we expect that take the school children to them, to the farm tourism, to the village tourism, rural tourism. उनको तब समझ आएगा कि हम खाना तो रोज खाते हैं, रोटी रोज खाते हैं, अनाज का आटा भी रोज खाते हैं. आटा बनता कैसे है, अनाज कहाँ से गेहूं पैदा होती है. हम में से कितने के बच्चों को, हमें तो चलो पता होगा, कभी टीवी में देख लिया कि एक चलो गेहूं उग रही है, या किसी ने एग्रीकल्चर प्रोग्राम कभी कोई देखता है. आजकल तो सिर्फ वो MTV और ये टीवी ही सारे जो देखते हैं. So these things we have to educate it not only to the tourists. It has to start from the root level. Root level means from the school, from the colleges, or from the institutions. And we should create more institutions which are really telling us about the responsible tourism, about the rural tourism. That's, अगर हम अपने route travel से नहीं उनको बताएंगे, तो nobody will understand what is rural tourism. To educate them, to tell them what is rural tourism and where it starts basically. What is rural tourism? If you really go to IITM, lot of even the students, they come to us for the job, and I said, do you understand the meaning of rural tourism? They can't answer. Padhe hue hain. Tourism, they have done their courses in tourism, but unfortunately, sir, they don't know what is rural tourism. They said, if you really go to rural area, that is a rural tourism. So this is the answer. But go to the villages, and yes, your question, now come back to that those people are having the habit of luxury things, 5-star things. How can you attract them to go to? Tell them to go to the villages or to the rural areas where you can experience. You have to, being a tour operator, it is our duty to tell them. Go to, for the homestays. Now the trend has changed. If you will go to the 5-star, you have experienced a lot in the 5-star hotels, but have you ever experienced? This life is based on the experiences of our, our living life, based on the experiences. If we are only going for the 5-star hotels, what we have experienced in life? To go for the experience in life, we have to, experience different things. Go to the farm, stay in the farm. Go to the village, stay in the village. And you will find that a different taste. Can you get organic food anywhere in 5-star hotels? You cannot get organic food in front of you. Only you will find in the rural areas. Where you will get a fresh milk, you will get fresh vegetables, and homemade, the best thing. So that you have to educate. It is very important, being a tour operator, it is our duty to educate them that what is now the difference between that and how we can promote the rural tourism to the masses and for the luxury segment. Thank you.
I think we are running out of time. Yeah, we need to conclude it now. Adding to Mr. Khanna's point, when I have started Responsible Tourism Initiative in Kerala, we made village life experience packages. The first component of the village life experience package was coconut tree climbing, toddy tapping, coconut leaf weaving, screw pine weaving, pottery making, weaving of cloths. When I have started this initiative, our so-called tourism professionals called me, he's a mad, a crazy man आ गया, पागल हो गया वो उसने, कोई भी नहीं आएगा to take selfies from the top of a coconut tree. When I spoke in WTM London in 2016, I have invited all the people to come to Kumarak, Kerala, to take selfies from the top of a coconut tree. It will help the farmer. We have village life experience packages, which is not promoting tips, but there will be a package cost. It will empower the community and the local pride will be enhanced. These are our experiences. We have different types of experiential tourism packages: village life, cultural experience, cuisine experience, and farm tourism also. And during the period of 2019, 119,000 people visited Kumaragam only to experience village life experience packages. That's the difference created in destinations. Now in Kerala, we have 140 experiential tourism packages in different forms. We have culture, cuisine, and we never promoted our ritual arts in resorts or hotels. We will take the guests to temples and churches and some other part of sacred groves, etc. They can experience the ritual arts from that point. That will be divine experiences for them. I am not trying to explain more about the initiative. We can find out experiences from Mimosa plant. We will call them as touch me not. You can touch the plant, it will shut down, and after that it will reopen. That is an amazing experience. Like from the farms, we have a lot of experiences. We can create or find out a lot of experiences. So we are talking about the new normal situation. We are concluding the session. My co-panelists cooperated very well, even though they are not satisfied to discuss. I know that they have a lot of other things to share with the audience. But this was a great panel to discuss about the new normal tourism, and we are concluding the session. Thanks to all of you. Just we are moving to showcase, present one small video from Kerala Tourism, which is about street projects. Street means sustainable, tangible, responsible, experiential ethnic tourism hubs, which are addressing the experiential tourism activities in new normal situation with the support of local community. Please.
The Street Project of Responsible Tourism Mission was implemented to take tourism to the interiors of Kerala by developing local destinations along with rural communities. STRAIT stands for Sustainable, Tangible, Responsible, Experiential, Ethnic and Tourism Hubs. The STRAIT project is inspired by the Tourism for Inclusive Growth slogan of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, or UNWTO. The project focuses on local self-government for sustainable tourism development. Tourism Minister Mr. P.A. Muhammad Riaz inaugurated the STRAIT project at Velliyankalle in Palakkad's Trithalla, while Speaker Mr. M.B. Rajesh chaired the function. The first phase of the project was implemented at select Grama Panchayats in Kottayam, Idukki, Palakkad, Kozhikode, Kannur, Wayanad and Kasaragod districts. The project is based on concepts like Water Street, Green Street, Art Street, Culture Street, Food Street, Farm or Agri-Tourism Street and Village Life Experience Street. A minimum of 3 projects will be developed under each local self-government body. The project aims at the development of traditional occupations and the livelihood of each region. The Responsible Tourism Mission implements this participatory tourism development project by connecting with local self-governing bodies. The initial developments have kick-started in various regions of the state. Minister for Cooperation, Mr. V.N. Vasavan, launched the tourism directory of the street project at Maravanturathu in Kottayam district. Various programs such as training workshops for local communities, unit formation, making of packages, and identification of micro-destinations are being executed. Under the street project, the 3-kilometer-long Arival Tod Canal at Maravanturathu was cleaned up. Thanks to the joint efforts of the Grama Panchayat and the Responsible Tourism Development Committee. The canal, which was once used as a waterway, became redundant due to contamination and putrid algae. As the stream is once again turned into a canal water circuit, it also accomplishes the environment tourism policies of responsible tourism. Similarly, 18 waterways including rivers and lakes were cleaned and restored as water streets. Here, tourism activities like kayaking have also been implemented. Clusters in groups of 40 houses have been formed for the conservation and water management of these waterways. Tourism Minister Mr. P.A. Muhammad Riaz inaugurated the first ever water street in India at Maravanturathu. The Water Street project at Maravanturathu has been set an example for similar projects being implemented at select 10 locations in the state. By highlighting the unique geographical and cultural aspects of the selected destinations with local community participation, providing educate training for the community and making them beneficiaries of tourism, Kerala becomes the state that directly implements the UNWTO's motto of Tourism for Inclusive Growth.
I think there are a lot of other possibilities in various parts of India. We have our own tradition, culture, cuisine. We have our own unique festivals. Responsible tourism is not a rocket science. It can be implemented very simple way with the support of local community. If we will try to make it as a rocket science, we cannot implement it in any part of the world. So all of us are working together for the improvement of local livelihood activities through tourism, the rural development through tourism, and to protect the nature through tourism. So I am concluding my session, my tourism, the new normal situation. We can make wonders if we will work together. That is what we are trying to develop responsible tourism in Madhya Pradesh in association with Kerala Responsible Tourism Mission and Department of Tourism. Thank you all. Thank you once again.